Yes, I think we started.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Let's wait a few more minutes so that everyone has a chance to dial in.
Yeah. Couple more minutes so everyone can join the room. Welcome all.
In the meantime, guys, we have poll questions. So if you could take a few seconds to answer them, that will be great.
So I also see we have audience from the USA joining, which will be a little bit early this morning.
2 people.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we start?
Let's see. Yeah, if we can wait, I think 1 more minute, then I see still people
Are
attending.
joining, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. Also from Australia, I see. There it's quite late already.
Exactly. Even from Bali.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful place.
I agree to that, Willem.
Yeah, let's all go to Bali, indeed. Jelle is based in the Netherlands now, and I'm in Moscow, so yeah, the weather is not really great. And in Bali, it's of course amazing. Okay. Life is great in Moscow. It's really nice. There is no lockdown, so people just have to wear a mask, but for the rest, it's all good. A lot of people are already vaccinated, so that also helps. So, shall we kick off?
Yeah, let's go. Let's get into it.
Great. Well, hi everyone again. Thank you very much for joining today's session. Today's session is about remote inspections during COVID-19 and beyond. We'll discuss the challenges of the on-site inspections, the issues of the traditional inspection methods, and why and how we can migrate towards the next generation remote inspection method. My name is Eni Manukian, and I will be moderating this session. On a quick note, the webinar will be recorded, so we'll send you the recording together with the slides at the end of the webinar. So As you might notice, the webinar is organized by Smartflow. Smartflow helps different industries around the world to step out of this traditional based system of performing inspections and work processes and move towards more tailor-made approach. That all happens while connecting workers across organization and using just one app, one platform. So if we dive more into the topic, we see that the global pandemic has been requiring changes in the way companies have been approaching their processes, the process they've had in place for ages. One of them is inspections. So remote inspections became a really hot topic, and we've got a lot of inquiries. And we thought, okay, well, let's have this webinar and have a chat with you guys, brainstorm, address the issues, and look at the opportunities for the future. So here we are. We have polls in the chat. You can also see them in the poll section. If you could please answer, what work challenges have you experienced during COVID-19 pandemic? That will be great. So we can dive into that a little bit later. In the meantime, I'd like to introduce our speaker. Today's speaker is Jelle Swanenberg. Jelle is the CEO of Smartflow. His goal is to deliver smart mobile solutions for operations, maintenance, and check. He has had governance and organization science background. He joined the maritime industry 5 years ago, and since then he started noticing the challenges of the connected worker, but also the paper-based approach that the industry has been facing. So, well, that's the reason why he joined Smartflow, to help organizations like you guys. And today he's here to share his expert opinion on these topics. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Jelle and give the floor to him. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Annie. So back in January, we got, actually at the same day, we got two requests from two maritime inspection companies, both expressing the same challenges and needs to us. And I think that was all about reshaping their business model. So they, of course, because of the COVID regulations, they were restricted to go on site. And they wanted to find means how to maybe help or make the crew on board capable of capturing the data where they were remote. So because of that event, we thought, okay, this is really an interesting topic, and we decided to organize a webinar. So I will start this webinar. So to get into the story with a lot of challenges I encountered the past few years working at Smartflow with companies that are using traditional based inspection methods. And what I can also see in one of the polls is that safety issues or safety concerns is actually one of them. Nowadays with COVID and the regulations, but especially also in the Netherlands, the work conditions and the requirements of safe work change a lot. But people are used to, let's say, a certain way of working. They have always done that in a way. This is the way how we do things around here. And now you have to adapt, and you have to implement new ways of working with COVID around. So having traditional based inspection methods, we encounter many things like lack of adequate information. So what is the current work instruction? What do I need to inspect? Was it inspected already by another inspector before? What was the result? How long is the certificate valid? So all that kind of information is missing in day-to-day operations when you work paper-based, and that changing work conditions that happen over time makes it very difficult to adapt to that. Also, what we see is that the work site access is more difficult nowadays. Let's say asset owners want to prevent people on site, also because of the safety concerns. And then, as we call it in the Netherlands, the 1.5 meter society. And actually what you see there is that the first time right, don't make any errors. Working in a limited time frame with a short notice period is quite challenging. Working paper-based means that you need to get the right work instruction printed out or send it out to you. You have to print it out, you take it on site. Maybe the site access is only presented 1 or 2 days prior to when you can go inside. So what we see there is to work in these difficult conditions, that it's very, very frustrating if you don't have the right work instructions, and you come on site and you're not able to get access because you're missing information. And the way the business responds to this is a lot of shadow IT. So shadow IT, we are talking about like Excel, Office tools like Word, and the business tries to find a way to adopt or to work with this challenging conditions with shadow IT. But there's less governance on shadow IT. People are not able to put governance from a higher perspective on it. The knowledge is only shared with a few people that actually set up the system, but it's very unclear for people in the company. And I think one of the handouts we also have today is more in depth about this challenge about shadow IT. So these are the challenges. But if we look at the issues generated by these traditional inspection methods, then we see that coping with those challenges means that there's a lot of human error. And human error is not only inspecting the workers on site, let's say the inspectors, the operators, the field workers, or the engineers, but it is also affecting the whole organization, because fixing an error, let's say you're missing information or information was not gathered correctly, or it's simply unreadable, needs to be fixed to make the good and the right decisions. So there's a lot of communication going on because of human error, and that involves also high operational costs, because what we have seen is that there's a lot of middle management there to streamline operations, to make sure that data is captured, that actually the right thing is done. We follow the policies, we follow the rules from the authorities, but it comes with high operational costs, because there's a lot of confusion in the operation, especially with COVID, where all the regulations changes so fast. So to give an answer to that human error, we are setting up like quite some management activities to make sure everything is all right. And one of the big problems that also arises is the difficult knowledge transfer. So we all know that, and I think that's maybe for most companies also joining today, that we have an aging workforce. So quite some people will leave our companies anytime in the next couple of years. And how can we make sure that all their knowledge, all their 20, 30, 40, 50 years of experience is safeguarded within the company? And what I have seen up to now is when I got on site and talked to even these experts, let's say, they know so much, but they know it's all in their heads. So it's all information they possess. But to get that information to younger workers now requires years, but we don't have them. So, and also with COVID, the communication touch points are a lot less. So trying to find ways to get on with that knowledge transfer. And maybe the last one is slow and difficult data access is maybe one of the biggest frustrations of all. So you need to go on site, you need to do an inspection or a work order, a maintenance order, it doesn't matter, but you need to get the right instruction, or you need to know what was the last status of that asset. Is it certified? What is the right work instruction? And looking for data, and data in terms of what do I need to do? What do I have all information? It's not there when you need it. So we have all those. We have all seen those big cabinets with all those files piled up, and making sure that you have access to the right data is now slowing the decision-making process, and slowing maybe even the repair of downtime events, because to get up again, a lot of communication is needed. But I'm also curious, what you have seen in the poll or in the chat around the challenges and the issues that are generated by these traditional-based inspection methods.
Thanks, Jelle. I see that safety concerns and outdated technology are the leading ones, the leading challenges people have experienced. Then we have lack of long-term strategy and defective data insights analytics. How would you comment? I think safety concerns indeed is one of the biggest challenges a lot of people have been facing.
Yeah. I think also the reason why we do most inspections is safety related, right? It can be environmental safety, but also the safety of the workers on site and that are actually part of the process. And COVID gives us an unstable situation. People are also maybe concerned about their own health, let's say, but at the same time, they're working in dangerous, hazardous business processes. So. And then working with outdated technology, and that's also, I think, what we just described in the challenges and the issues generated by it part, is that people miss actually the information they need to work safe.
Right.
So unfeeling safe, but also the outdated technology makes the unfeeling safe feeling even higher.
Yeah, I also see people mention printing, getting access to a building, which is almost impossible. Transparency from supplier, which is a major concern. So if people want to hide something, they manipulate with it. Those are the challenges that they have been facing as well.
Yeah, and that's also, I think, a very good concern, because in the end, we try to avoid any downtime events. So we try to be as productive as possible, but the current situation makes it more difficult. And then, when you hear things like we are manipulating maybe the process, then we all know what the risks that come by, right? So that's something we should really take serious, and don't give people the feeling or the thought to manipulate to streamline the process.
Exactly, that's lack of transparency, right?
Yeah. And in the end, we have a license to operate. All companies have, and we have a zero incident policy. So these are the real concerns that as a safety officer, but also as a director of a company, you'll have sleepless nights about, I can imagine.
Right. Yeah. Thanks. We can move on.
Yeah. So luckily for us, right? So there are quite some technological advancements already that are supporting remote inspections, and it's also not an undiscovered field, which is of course nice. And if we have to look at how we can, have a view on that field, from my experience, there are like three main areas where technology advancements are supporting remote inspections. On the one hand, it's the connected worker that we talked about. So helping the connected worker to get all relevant information on site that he needs to carry out an inspection, or to help him identify the status of an asset, or to see the history of inspections for an asset, and make sure that that connected worker is, let's say, integrated into the whole process. So he is not, let's say, the last one in the row where we had the back office push and we created really nice asset management systems and CMMS systems and TMS systems. But at the same time, that connected worker was always lost, and the connected worker for us, he is the front line. He is the true person in the field actually carrying out the work. So making him connected, integrated into the whole process will help a lot. And at the same time, also making sure that all the data he captures, all the actions he performs, that data will become actionable and insightful. So instead of papers that you cannot track, or you cannot analyze, all that he does will become, let's say, actionable data. And then on the other hand, we see the connected assets. So partly remote inspections will also be done by remote monitoring. So live monitoring on assets, that can be the vibration of a valve, or is the valve open or closed, or many things that help to monitor day-to-day operations, and day-to-day see the asset health and the performance of assets. And in between the connected worker and the connected assets, maybe you have also the robotization. So the connected worker is supported also by robots, of course, to carry out tasks that are too dangerous for him or too difficult to access on site. So partly the connected worker will also be supported by robotic processes. And then if you look at all the information that is captured, let's say, from the connected assets, but also from the connected worker perspective, we see that, of course, the data-driven companies are there to to make sure that there's AI, there is deep learning, there is a lot of insightful information to improve processes and to streamline operations and to enhance safety. Today, I prepared, let's say, 3 use cases or 3 practical examples of companies that are dealing with remote inspections, and I will share them with you. So we'll go to the next slide. And the first one is actually one of the companies that reached out to us back in January. It's about SelfService. So their challenge was that they are an external maritime inspection company, and they go on site to perform tons of inspections for vessels, and to make sure that they are compliant with international regulations. But with COVID, they were not able to go on site, or they tried to avoid to send their inspectors on site. So they started thinking, and that's why they also reached out to us, can we reshape our business model and use the crew on board to help building up the reports and help building up the inspections. And for us, actually, this question was not entirely new. So we have been working with a company in the Netherlands that's actually doing the same with the inspection of equipment. A few years ago, let's say 4 or 5 years ago, they had an inspection company with 20 to 30 inspectors, and they were doing all kinds of equipment inspections and certification of those equipment. And what happened was, after talk with us, that we found a business model that we thought, okay, can we train the people, let's say, on site from their clients actually to do the inspections themselves. So they thought of a concept, let's say the digital inspector, and nowadays 1,500 people are carrying out those inspections on site. So that are various companies within the Netherlands, Germany, and Belgium, and even sometimes in England. And the reason why they wanted to do that is, let's say, to of course provide their impact, but also to have a scaling business model. And actually, we saw the same challenge with the company, but then in a maritime perspective. And yeah, of course, there are all kinds of regulations, and that you need to make sure that the people are actually allowed to do these kind of inspections. But they're also looking for, let's say, an in-between model where they use the people on board, let's say, to the crew on board to capture the data and get well instructed to capture the data, and then send it to the inspection company where actually people behind their desk were reviewing the inspection results. So it's really a collaboration effort. So they don't only provide, let's say, a platform for their clients to do the inspections, but at the same time, they are trying to educate them and trying to give an environment to work together to make sure that everything is compliant with international regulations. And yeah, of course, with all this data, right, that will be gathered or will be captured, it will also give much more insights to this inspection company, because different companies will do onboard inspections. The crew will help out, and all the data that they capture, they can start analyzing and start seeing, okay, what are the true things that we need to see to avoid accidents or to avoid compliancy issues. So on that data, they can of course also add value, not only for that specific customer, but from the whole industry, what is happening in this kind of inspections. So that's the first use case where we really talk about self-service, and I think that's also and maybe in the chat that you also react to that. It's maybe a way of thinking that's not totally different, because we are used to send experts on site, but rethinking that, let's say, to what can we capture on site with the people that are already there, so that we don't need to send other people on site to carry out these inspections. And sometimes it's of course needed to send external experts, but maybe for a lot of tasks or for a lot of things, the data can be captured on site and be shared with an external inspection company to do the verifications and provide the right certifications. And then another, let's say, important use case, and this use case, it's about remote supervision in operator runs. I encountered quite some years ago already. So I started working on this use case way before COVID-19. It was back in January 2019, actually with a company in Australia. And their challenge was, let's say, supervising the daily operator rounds. So what happened there was that every day people go on site on the terminal, right, to perform each shift the necessary inspections. And then at the end of the day, that inspections results, let's say, they piled up on the desk of the supervisor. Yeah, he had to go through them. He had to see, okay, what is being found today during inspections? Are there any defects? Do we identify any risks? And if so, he needed to, yeah, let's say, make a maintenance order, or create a maintenance order, or communicate with the SHE department. So there was quite a lot of communication, but it was, let's say, centered in 2 moments on the day. So it was on the start of the day where he had to assign all the tasks to the different supervisors or to the shift workers. And at the end of the day, when all information was collected, he needed to go through all the information and yeah, make sure that the appropriate action was followed up. But most of the times that information only came 15 minutes before the end of his shift. So he was also not able to go through all the documents. So the next day he was going to see all the documents from the previous day. So there was quite some delay, and because of that delay, also important actions were being missed. And when we started talking, we really tried to find a way. And later, after we started doing that in Australia, we also started doing that in other sites for this company. But what we started doing is, let's say, we found a way to digitize the digital operator rounds using an app. So all the data that was captured is now available in an app in the digital format. So with their ATEX tablets, they in the morning they were assigned to do certain checks. So the supervisor has, let's say, a shadow plan, and he can assign the different checks to his workers in his shift. And then they got assigned to go on site with their tablet. They see the tasks they have to perform for today, and they just go through the inspections. What happened was that during the day, of course, they finished their inspections, and during the day, that supervisor was able to see the results and started reviewing after the inspection was carried out. But when there were, let's say, values found outside the threshold or risk identified, each inspection also provided a summary to that supervisor. So based on the summary, his first action came. So let's say he received a summary and a notification about that summary, and he saw, okay, we have 2 values outside the threshold on this jetty or in this water leakage system or whatever that was inspected. And he was able to quickly respond to that and decide, okay, do I want to create a maintenance order, or do I have to create a SHE order, let's say, because we identified the risk. And not only that, also the history that was built up, of course, every day the inspection was captured, made also it really easy for him to access all information from the past. So when questions came about, okay, can you show me the results of 2 days ago because we saw some irregularities in the data, then he can just quickly search for that inspection and go through the result again. And not only him, also other relevant people within the company. So together, they really shaped a way of remote supervision. And now during COVID, that's even more important because that person can even do that from his own home. So he is able, everywhere he is, to see the inspection results and to guide his team. Because also photos and videos and ways of data capturing were added, this helps really to I see you coming up, Annie, but it really helps to respond quickly to whatever is found in the field.
In the chat that remote inspections, remote supervision can be problematic in the marine environment due to the limitations in communication access. and that some people use WhatsApp to see functioning of some equipment on board. But yeah, if you do not have internet access, then it will be problematic, right?
Well, yeah, on the one hand, it can be problematic, but on the other hand, let's say the data capturing can also happen, let's say, offline. So so people don't have to wait, let's say, to capture the right data. And then at certain moments, there will be data availability, let's say. So it's also part of the next use case,
Nice.
actually, I will talk about. But yeah, so of course, there's a limitation of data sharing. But at least we make sure, let's say, in this use case, that data is captured.
Indeed.
And at the first moment that we can share it, we will share it, let's say. So there's no need to further, let's say, delay that process.
Clear. Thank you, Jelle. Let's move on.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. All right. Yeah, but that's actually a good question. But maybe that's also a good example in this first use case. And this first use case is all about the new ISCOT regulations. So end of last year, ISCOT version 6 came out. And that's all about the ship-shore handshake for oil tankers, gas tankers, or chemical tankers. And there was a big difference in that new version, and that's the pre-arrival checklist. So the ability between a vessel and the shore to exchange information prior to arrival. And what we have seen in the ISCOT that most companies are working with is that all necessary documentation is jointly processed on shore. So ISCOT is about 9 parts, and the first part is, let's say, currently the pre-arrival part. Then there's a ship-shore conference where all the agreements are being made, and then there are repetitive checks, because when there's cargo transfer, then also during the transfer you want to do inspections and checks of the safety. Doing that on shore takes a lot of time, let's say. So the vessel captain and the superintendent or the supervisor, they had to come together, go through all the documents, and that are around 150 questions. So that's quite a lot before the cargo transfer can get started. And this use case we actually are working on together with Vopak, which is a company that's pretty much having quite a digital focus and a digital strategy to get all communication touch points between their customers and clients in a digital way. What we have done there is that we try to find a way to communicate with vessels prior to arrival. So in this use case, the terminal planner is calling in the ship. But when he calls in the ship, there's already information available, let's say the terminal booklet they want to send, but also they have available all the questions in part 2. So let's say the pre-arrival part for the terminal, they have to prepare, and they send it to the vessel. And they try, and that's also, I think, also the comment just now, they try to find a right moment to see when shall we send it. So it in most cases it makes no sense to send it when the ship is on the middle of the sea or the vessel, but they send it at certain points. They know, hey, now they have good receptance, so we should send it now. And then the vessel gets all the necessary information, and he is able to change his ETA. So when do I think I arrive? Sometimes the planner made a guess, and then the vessel can even make it sharper. And he is able to fill in part 1, 1A and 1B, but he also get instructions. So the terminal booklet is also in his possession at that moment. So there's a lot of communication already there. Then when the ship comes on board, then the ISCOT requires us to do the ship-shore conference together. So they go together through that checklist, but at the same time, because they had digital access already to part 1 and part 2, they also get digital access to part 3 to 7, but they cannot, let's say, modify it. It's in read-only mode for them, so they can only see what was agreed upon. But the moment they set the signatures, then also the information is again with the vessel. And and with other relevant stakeholders within let's say it can be the transport company that's behind the vessel, or that can be, let's say, an agency, different supervisors. So everyone has that same information available, and that's pretty easy also for, let's say, shift handover. So for a shift handover, supervisor can already see what was encountered during the part 3 to 7, and when he goes to repetitive checks, all data that was captured is no longer on paper, it's already digital available, and he can just go through it on his tablet on site, or before he goes on site from the control room. Then during those repetitive checks, that's also let's say again the remote part, is that the ISCOT now allows us to do remote inspections for the repetitive checks. So on the one hand, the terminal has to do repetitive checks. So they indicate that, say, every 8 hours we have to do a repetitive check. But for the vessel, it will be every 4 hours. So the vessel every 4 hours get a notification to perform the repetitive check. They have to execute it, but the terminal can see the results instantly. So in this way, there's a digital collaboration, and this was actually also quite interesting with COVID, since we want to avoid, let's say, too many contact points. So now we have the 3 to 7, which is mandatory by the ISCOT regulations, that we come together and that we go through all the requirements and all the questions. But let's say the pre-arrival part and the repetitive check parts we can do remotely, and other checklists, let's say, that are part of the process that can be added. So then think about pre-birth information, or think about pre-birthing, but think about operational arrangements, pollution checklists, pollution prevention checklist. So all kinds of information that terminals have alongside this ISCOT. So all the ship shore handshakes are becoming part of the process. So we started with the ISCOT, but we will quickly also introduce other documents that we will share with the vessel, and make sure all documentation is captured in a safe and efficient way. And maybe the important thing is, let's say, that we can maybe have a faster cargo transfer, let's say. So having the information ready beforehand, have a digital way to go quickly through that information, will also make sure that the cargo transfer can start earlier, and that will also help, of course, to improve the productiveness.
There's a question from the audience. What about cybersecurity and data security? ICO 27001.
Yeah. So of course there are a lot of prerequisites that you need to think of, right, to do this in a safe and secure way. But at least we have to improve the safety of the traditional based inspection method, because that's also not really safe. Having everything on paper is really not safe. But indeed, for this kind of systems, you really need to think about all those regulations, all those ISO certifications, and making sure that there's a security, there's encryption, that only the right people can access, that access is limited to a certain time. So this is of course a really important topic that is part of it. But that's also, I think, where SaaS companies step in, because SaaS companies also tell you, let's say, we make sure, let's say, that it's all safe and secure, because that's our expertise, that's also our reason of existence. And we really want to focus with you on the business, let's say, on the business process. We don't want you to think too much and worry too much about the data, because that's also, let's say, a responsibility of the SaaS to support you in that, and to also not impact your IT too much, because it's the business that wants to go fast, and it's the SaaS that can help out with certain processes.
Oh, this connected worker.
Yeah, so the connected worker. So let's say on the one hand we have a couple of focus points, and I try to talk about them or talk through them already a couple of times during this presentation. But if we focus on the connected worker, one of the things is that we focus on integrating the connected worker into the environment. There are a lot of the source of truth where the information is, let's say, stored, needs to be accessible for the connected worker. So making sure that he is integrated is a key focus point. And then at the same time, he doesn't only want to be connected to his systems, you also want to be connected to other workers. And we just encountered the WhatsApp example, but WhatsApp is not really a strong way of capturing data and knowledge transfer, let's say. So making sure that is the right certificate there, is what is the drawing that I need where's the work instruction? Do I have any punch list items already for this task, for this project? It's connecting the worker with the other workers, so they don't feel the need to ask questions in WhatsApp because the information is there right at their fingertips. And let's say the focus should also be that this is real time. The day-to-day operations, a lot of things changes during the day. So making sure that the information is updated regularly and that the connected worker always processes the latest information is really important. And instead of that they feel, let's say, the systems that are already there as an administrative burden, I have to administer this, I have to register that, they want to feel supported by their working systems. So because the working systems provide them, let's say, with the right task and the right information to perform that task. And we also see that because of the technological advancement, connected workers can also be supported by wearables. So we see, let's say, the smart glasses there to get remote assistance, but also to do hands-free inspections, voice commanded. That actually improves their work, it improves their efficiency, but it also really improves the way they feel about their work, because they have, let's say, all kind of nice tools that help them to do their task in a good way. And then, the last thing maybe it's that they also feel united with IoT instead of replaced by IoT. I think IoT is also there to also make their life easier and to help out. And then when we look at the benefits that will come, right, is that, imagine or see what is the impact if as an inspector you have access to relevant information. What was the previous inspection? What are the results? Are there any prior points found in the last inspection? For workers in the field, what would it mean if we have more hands-on tool time? Sometimes hands-on tool time is below 40%. So to make sure that they don't have to wait, all information is there's a secure and smooth process that will also increase their hands-on tool time. And then everybody's frustration, let's say, about human error, that's not only affecting the connected worker because he will not do it on purpose, but at the same time, everyone in the organization that's trying to fix that error. It has to lead to improved compliance and safety, but it certainly also has to lead to time gained. So making sure that the connected worker has all information, that he can follow the process that is there, and that he doesn't have to wait for information, has to look for information, but that he really can work with the information that's available, and make sure that we cannot handle 1 or 2 trucks, but that we can handle 5 trucks at the same time, because everything is clear, the instruction is clear, we see if the right information is there, and it's a pass or a go. I see also you wanted to share something.
Yeah, I think we have like question section, right?
Yeah, so I will go to the...
I see a really good question coming up. There is a true mayhem of available platforms, applications, and potential solutions. So there is a lot of competition. Yet from a data POV, you will want companies and platforms to work together. That's logical, actually. So how do you see that coming, Jelle?
Yeah. So indeed, let's say sometimes there's competition, let's say, between some systems, because there are sometimes the legacy systems that you talk about, they also want to provide digital mobility solutions to the frontline workers. But in the end, my advice would be, let's say, think about as a starting point, what does that connected worker need? So my worker in the field, how can we help him? What information does he need? What information does he need to provide? And then also let's see, the digital era will help us with, let's say, message bus, where information is published, but also downloaded by various systems. So instead of making integrations between one system and another, people are just publishing, let's say, data, or systems are publishing data on a message bus, and all the systems are consuming that data. So you only have to provide one time, let's say, an API to the connected worker, where the data is received, but at the same time, at one API that the data is captured, and that same publishment, the data is then there, that can be used by other systems to make sure everything is up to date. So I really see it happening. Let's say that in the digital strategy, that companies start to communicate, let's say, through information hubs or data hubs, or let's say a message bus, enterprise service bus, that kind of communication tools.
Editor to these mobility solutions. It's more like working all together approach.
Yeah, Smartflow is really on the process side, so really on top. So at the connected worker level. So the connected worker needs information, needs to maybe let's his own one front end to work with, and we avoid we don't have the feeling that we always have to replace systems. It's more like, how can we help that connected worker? And if he needs to use 5 or 6 different systems on his mobile device, it's also not a nice way of working for that connected worker, because he has to get used to different interfaces, different ways of working. He has to do this part here, that part there. So thinking from his perspective, why can I not do that, let's say, in one go?
Yeah, exactly. So it's more like all-in-one app platform, which makes the life of connected workers easier.
Yeah, and I also see an interesting point from Frank about the management of change. That's of course involving, let's say, the people in the field because there is also a lot of the knowledge, right? To establish the new ways of working or the new processes is also really strong. So instead of telling them how to work, let's think with them how they can improve their work. Let's say, let's involve the connected worker and actually ask which information he needs or what he wants, because that also sometimes really helps to focus on the right areas to improve. Yeah, so in the end, it's about digitizing frontline operations. So make sure that we can smartly capture data. And of course, we can also help use, let's say, drones and smart glasses. But the important thing is that all the data that is captured, let's say, from a field perspective, is integrated into the whole process. And then thirdly, let's say, all the data that is captured, you can really get actionable insights from that. So digitizing frontline operations can happen in various areas. We can think about inspection certifications, but also in quality control, HSE, asset performance management, turnarounds. There are so many ways to think about, okay, how can we support a connected worker? How can we deal with the current COVID regulations? How can we create an agile environment, a test and learn mindset, rapid improvement cycles? Really ways to nowadays reshape things, because COVID demands it from us, that we reshape, that we think of new ways of working. And also the new generation that is stepping up, that is used actually to use this kind of systems and tooling, they don't want to work on paper anymore. They really demand also the organizations they work for to work in a digitized way, where they feel like they are using the same applications as they use in their daily lives at home. So I think this is Annie, are you still there?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
we've come to the questions section again, and I see one question. Hands-on tools is crucial metric for frontline worker. Is your solution available for full hands-free operations, such as smart glasses?
Yeah. So you already see that, let's say, smart glasses are, let's say, voice commanded way of working, where you have the smart glass, get instructions, do things step by step, but also get remote assistance. So in the end, it's all about hands-on tool time improvements. But it also means that not only the instructions should be there, but also that the necessary requirements before you can work need to run smooth, right? Do I have site access? Do I have the right work permit? Do I have a work instruction? Do I have to go to start working? Is the last LMRA check performed? So all these kind of process steps you need to think about when you want to increase your hands-on tool time. But the good thing is that when you are actually capturing the data and measuring, that you can start analyzing. So where do I have areas to improve? Do I see a lot of times that people are actually waiting to get the final go? Why is that? Why are they waiting? Or when an asset is down and the technical maintenance team has said, okay, the asset can get back up again, but the time for operations to also verify, or the time for the gatekeeper to verify, is taking long. So the data will show you where to focus on, but as a company, you need to start to ask the questions. Why are these things happening, and how can we improve? And what do my employees think about the areas of improvement?
But private mode, actually. So, and I will add my separate note here as well. It's a really interesting question. So since we're moving from the traditional based approach, like paper-based methods, towards more connected worker, and replacing, these old-fashioned approaches, will Smartflow also replace humans, like these connected workers? Or how shall we see this?
No, yeah, so no. We really love humans too much, but in the end, I think when we talk about 30, 40 years, sometimes processes will be fully automated, right? So a pilot is a pilot still flying the plane all the time? No, but he is still there. But there's a big transition going on there, and we will not replace, but we will support, make them more productive, improve the hands-on tool time, making sure the license to operate is there, right? We are all compliant. Their job is nice and safe. But surely not to replace, because I think that's at the moment not something as companies should think about, because that's quite far away, let's say, for most companies that are operating at the moment traditional based inspection methods. So the first step would really be, how can I help them instead of how can I replace them?
Thank you very much, Jelle. Thanks a lot for sharing your insights. Thank you guys for joining today's session. We really enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please just reach out to us. We will be really happy to help you out. And as I mentioned earlier, all the registered participants will get a recorded webinar as well as slides. On a separate note, on the 8th of April, we're going to have another webinar about smart glasses and hands-free inspection. So don't forget to sign up. And I see that our moderator, Stefana, already added the link in the chat. We'll be really happy to see you there as well. Thank you again. That's the end of the webinar, and take care, guys.
All right. Thank you very much, all.
Bye-bye.